Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A warning before we begin, today's main story is not an easy one as it references predatory behavior and sexual assault. So if those are topics that make you uncomfortable, you might want to skip it. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit entitled Parents and it's by user moneyphotograph4176. My entitled mom wants me to pay my creep stepbrother's student debt. I, 29 female, have an older stepbrother, Chris, 42 male, who has been a nightmare since the day my mom married his dad. Let me give you a bit of background. Our parents married when I was 4 and he was 17. Both our parents were widowed. After their wedding, we moved to the US since my mom had American citizenship through marriage. I was born in the US too, but after my dad died when I was 1, my mom and I moved back to Colombia. Stepdad got his residency through marriage and my stepbrother because he was a minor. My stepbrother wasn't a big fan of me. My only memories of him are just constant bullying. He would be left in charge of me since he was studying locally and lived with my parents. But mostly, his babysitting really meant things like locking me in the guest bathroom or the shed outside. He would steal my lunchbox whenever he was the one who dropped me off at school. He even began to harm my pets. I have an old cat that has been with me for almost 22 years. He tried more than once to run her over with his car. My parents never believed any of it. He's the classic golden child. My mom absolutely wanted a son instead of a daughter, so my stepbrother took priority over me. The bullying just kept getting worse and creepier. He would use a long key to walk in on me showering. My underwear would disappear sometimes and I know for a fact it was him. He also started taking pictures of me sleeping, and one night I woke up to him taking care of himself next to me while I slept. I yelled obviously and my parents came over, but he wasn't in trouble. I was for tempting him. I was 14 when this happened. He was 27. No one helped me and he got bolder until he did something I am still in therapy for when I was 16. It got to a point where I called my biological half-older brother, Sam, 48 male, and son of my biological father's first wife, to see if I could live with him and his wife, Sandy, during my last 2 years of high school. When Sam found out what was going on, he confronted my mom. My mom didn't care and just told him to take me so long he never asked her for money. Done and done. My brother and his wife became my legal guardians and took me in with my cat and the old family dog, since I didn't trust leaving any living creature with Chris around. My parents never checked on me. My extended family from my father's side knew what happened and they immediately got together to ensure I could finish school well and go to college. I don't know my maternal family at all. Thanks to my paternal family, including Sam's mother and her family, I got my bachelor's and master's, no student debt, and work as a nurse practitioner. I still live with Sam, his wife and their 2 kids, and I pay a small rent. Neither Sam nor his wife expected me to pay anything, but that's the least I can do for the 2 people who have taken care of me for 13 years. For anyone wondering why I didn't move, it's incredibly expensive where I live, and Sam insisted I stay with them until I save enough to buy my own home. Things seemed okay until my mom messaged me recently. She had not messaged me since I was 18 when she told me she no longer had any responsibility to me. In this message, she sounded overly friendly, telling me how she missed me and asking how I was doing. I was a bit creeped out but decided to be nice, telling her about what I had done since leaving her care. She seemed very interested since apparently she knew I was a nurse, but not what kind I was. She began asking me about my salary. I didn't tell her anything about it, but that it was enough to pay the bills. My mom then began texting about Chris and how he was barely making any money due to his student debt. Apparently, Chris never finished a degree, jumping from career to career. He is now working in my stepdad's used car business as a salesman, but most of his pay went to pay the substantial student debt he got over the years. I told my mom how sorry I was that Chris was having a hard time and wished him luck. That's when my mom finally got to what she wanted. She texted me I needed to pay his student debt so he could finally begin to make the money he deserves like the man of the family. I just turned off my phone. When I got home, Sam was surprised since I was usually the last to arrive. Sandy wasn't home yet. I told Sam what happened and showed him my mom's text messages. I don't think I've seen Sam this angry ever. He told me to block my mom, stepdad, and Chris if I had not done so yet. After talking with Sam and Sandy, I called my boss to ask the next day and the one after off. This gave me a 4-day weekend, including the days I'm normally off shift. My boss was more than okay with this and told me to just take it easy and let her know if she could help. This backfired because the next day my mom and Chris decided to come to Sam's house to speak to me. I was alone since Sam and Sandy were at work and the kids were at school. I immediately called Sam and told him what was going on. He told me not to open the door and that he was on his way. My mom spent the whole time screaming that I owed them for raising me and that my sweet brother deserved the money. Chris was going around trying to find a window or door unlocked. There wasn't any since the windows have safety bars and the only other door is in the closed garage and one in the yard. The yard one was locked and just in case I locked the one in the garage. I won't post what he called me when he saw me from one of the windows, but basically he pretty much told me that they should have thrown me away when I was a baby since I grew up to be a bee. He pounded in one of the windows so hard he actually cracked the glass. Eventually, he gave up and went back to the front door, clearly trying to kick it down. I didn't have anything to worry about. The door was a security door, but I was still very scared. Between yelling, threatening, pleading, and insults, I finally heard Sam screaming at them to get lost. I only saw things from the window. Sam pretty much dragged them both off the porch. They got to a point I couldn't hear, but I saw my mom and Chris pale and look scared before they pretty much ran to their car and drove off way past the legal speed limit. Sam came in a bit after and immediately went full overprotective brother mode, asking me if I was okay. He kept saying sorry and hugging me. Sandy arrived almost immediately after and she looked like she was about to commit a felony. Apparently, Sam threatened Chris with filing charges for what he did to me when I was 16. My brother's ace was my stepdad was willing to testify against his own son. That seemed enough to get Chris off our backs, but not my mom. Since then, it's been 3 days and my mom has sent texts, called non-stop with various numbers and rallied a group of people who are supposedly my maternal family to harass me for money. She claims that money should legally be hers since she's my mother, that it's my late father's missed child support. Sam is helping me find a lawyer to get a restraining order on my mom, and I plan to take my stepdad's offer to testify by pressing charges against Chris. I can't say I can forgive him for not stopping his son, but I appreciate he's at least trying. I don't know the details, but Chris did something to a relative of his dad, and since then they had a really bad fallout. I took my boss's offer and will be on vacation for a few more days. But here it is. My vacation days are getting eaten up and my therapist might need a therapist after. Thankfully, my dark sense of humor and supportive paternal family are keeping me somewhat sane. OP, I am so sorry that you had to go through all of that. Your stepbrother is a vile piece of human garbage, and I hope he gets what's coming for him. And your mom, well, she's no good either for defending that piece of trash. It's good to know that your older brother and your paternal family have your back, so hopefully you can be rid of these people. Now, there's a lot more I'd like to say, but I don't want to make this video 4 hours long. So let's just move to the community comments to see what they had to say. Cat1832 says, God, your mother is a piece of work. I'm glad Sam and Sandy are on your side. Block your entitled mother and the rest of the flying monkeys so you can have some peace of mind to breathe. United Manor 20 says, change your phone number. It's super easy. You can either do it from an app on your phone or call customer service to your phone provider. She can't harass you if she doesn't have your telephone number. Even if she calls from unknown numbers, she'd have to know your number first. And OP responds, it's something I plan to do, but I can't immediately. I use my phone for work. And DryBite9885 says, love, take a breath. You've been through a lot in a very small amount of time. Breathe. I know you need it. I'm so sorry your own mother is doing this to you. It sounds like Sam and Sandy are helping you do everything correctly though. I'm so glad you have them to back you up. So the community is giving OP some words of encouragement and some advice, and OP is planning to do some of the things they said. Now also, OP has given us 2 updates, so let's move on with the first one to see what happened next. I didn't think I would be making an update so soon, but my mother is unrelenting. To the people that were so kind and gave me advice earlier, thank you so much. It really helps to have people show kindness in difficult days. I followed with the advice to freeze my credit, and I will be getting a new phone for personal use. I will have to keep my old phone for work for a little. Now to the update on the situation. We are going through with pressing charges and might do a civil lawsuit for 2 years of child support my mother owns. We are not sure yet of our chances on it, but my brother Sam wants to go scorched earth. As for my mother, she began a new campaign. She's been posting about me falsely accusing my stepbrother Chris of sexual assault. She's been accusing me of being a temptress that tried 4 years to sleep with my brother. She even got a few relatives who I just found out are my aunts to join in, saying they were witnesses. I've never met these women in my life. My stepfather actually commented in her post saying my mom was lying and accusing his own son. That's how I found out what was the big fallout between them. The stepbrother went after one of the stepfather's nieces. I don't know the girl's age, but she has to be about my age if I'm thinking of the right person. If not, she's younger than me. A lot of my biological father's relatives have also gone into social media to call out my mother, saying she had always claimed she was an orphan and had no family, while now she has 3 sisters. It's a mess. I'm just watching for now and being a stay-at-home aunt. My nephews love it since we go out after they finish homework for crazy shenanigans. My boss has helped me with some paperwork for leave of absence and I should be off for about 6 weeks. After, I'll be mostly working from home for a few weeks. Not the greatest update, and to be sincere, things are not fun, but it's nice to spend time with the kiddos at least. Also, forgot this. No, my mom is not likely sleeping or in a relationship with my stepbrother. Some people had mentioned this. My mom always wanted a son. I was a disappointment because I was born a girl. She treats my brother like he's her real son, and I think she truly loves him as a mother. She made sure to tell me how disappointing it was for her when I was born. Wow, OP's mom doubles down on being a crappy person, and we find out a little bit more about what a huge piece of crap the stepbrother is. Now, as I mentioned before, OP gave us 2 updates, so let's move on to the final one to see how this story ends. So this might be my last update on the mess with my mother and stepbrother since we're finally starting the legal fights, but I finally had a good laugh. In my previous posts, I haven't said a lot about my biological father. He died when I was 1 year old, so I never really met him. I have one picture of him holding me when I was an infant. I mostly know him from stories from his family. What I do know is he was a man of means. He had a lot of assets that he had carefully divided in his will. Not like so rich I'll never have to work type, just rich enough that I would be able to live comfortably so long I worked and did right by my finances. I was not aware he had made sure to leave me with anything, neither did my half-brother Sam, his son, with his first wife. I am the daughter of an affair partner turned second wife. My understanding was that anything I inherited was wasted by my mother to buy things for her predator stepson Chris, who she prefers to me. He was my abuser growing up. In her words, "Daughters don't need inheritance, just marry a wealthy old man like me." Well, since my mother and Chris have been harassing me lately, we drove to my dad's lawyer to get some things we need from my dad's records for the lawsuit we are planning. He's a sweet older man, kind of looks like my dad a bit, and was my dad's best friend. When we met, he received me with a hug and told me how happy he was that I finally meet with him. His wife was there too, and she also gave me a big hug and told me we needed to have dinner at their place. Once we were all caught up, we found my mother had been faking receipts to get money from my trust, a lot of it. Some of it from when I was under Sam's guardianship, and she's not the executor of my trust. She had to provide receipts for anything. She's been sending receipts for me because I'm still in medical school. I finished school in 2021. Well, her meal ticket not only got torn, now she is in big trouble. What she did is fraud, and basically my hands are tied about pressing charges or not. She claims me as a dependent on her taxes, so my dad's lawyer would refund her for her expenses. He basically told me there's just no way we can keep this just in civil court. He had to contact the IRS and the police. Doesn't help she's been using my social security number for some things she shouldn't. Thank you to the people that advised me to freeze my credit. You guys saved me for sure. I probably won't be able to post for quite a while, and I'm going to be incredibly busy. I'm just mentally exhausted about how much has happened. I wouldn't have done anything about my mom using my trust if she had left me alone. I wouldn't even know about it because the trust is set for me to take over it with proof of marriage or graduating college. And since I didn't know about it, I never sent the required paperwork to take control. She could have milked it dry if she left me alone and just kept sending fake information. I am in the process to get what's left of my trust. There's quite a bit in it and should be enough for me to get a house or condo if I mix it with my savings and still have left over to invest or do other things safely. I might wait for a while to buy anything though. I don't know how safe it would be since my mom still has my social security number. Well, OP, after all you've gone through, hopefully the lawsuit against your stepbrother and the charges you're gonna file against your mother puts them in jail for a long time and they rot in it. And to you, OP, well, it sounds like you've got a good support network with your paternal family and you're still working through your trauma with a therapist. So on that note, here's wishing you the very best in the future, OP. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user SNJXX. New manager putting productivity over everything. I worked at a call center of nurses to give advice on whether the caller needed to go to the ER, general practitioner, manage symptoms and home, etc. As it's health advice, it's crucial to document everything because if someone was, for example, instructed to stay at home while exhibiting clear stroke symptoms, we'd be responsible. Well, a new manager was hired above our own floor manager to increase productivity as the number of calls increased rapidly beginning of COVID. She felt it was necessary to reduce the time we spent on finishing on documenting after the call had ended. In addition to medical records, we had to fill out a short questionnaire about each call to monitor the reasons people call us. Internal purposes, not really my expertise. So it obviously took a while. Average time, I think, was around 3 minutes after each call. The new manager informed us that 90 seconds was going to be enough and she had asked the IT department to make the program push us a new call after those 90 seconds, whether we were ready or not. The call would ring loudly, first on headphones and after 10 seconds on the computer sound system. New patient information screen popped up, everything unfinished was pushed to the back and we had to either decline the call, only allowed in emergencies, or let it ring and try and work over the ringing, which could not be muted. It was horrible, the noise was unbearable, and just in a few hours, we workers complained so much that the new manager just told us to take the new call and finish up the old one while talking to the new patient. Cue malicious compliance. Patient information law, similar to HIPAA in the US, violations, here we come. Having two patients' info up at the same time, trying to figure out why the latter called and wrapping up the previous one, how many documentations were written on the wrong patient's records? We tried. It was even worse than before. It took us about an hour to realize it would never work, and so we took the new call, asked them to wait for a second, muted the call, and finished up the previous one. The customers were not happy, but us workers gladly directed them to avenues to give feedback through. The company got so many bad reviews and online complaints in the first 6 hours that they had to regroup and stay late on that Monday evening to undo everything. We went back to normal on Tuesday, 2 hours later than we should have opened due to reprogramming. The new manager was with us less than 3 months. Don't miss her a bit. I had the most chaotic headache, including 8.5 hours of my life that day. Still have nightmares of that ringtone. And that's what you get when you try to optimize a system that you know nothing about. That manager stayed 3 months too long. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.